Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Wallop Records. I am your host, Kyle Joseph, and I am joined, as always, by the co-host, Rylan Turner. Rylan, how are you doing today?
I'm positive. I'm feeling positive about this episode. I feel like I had intentions with what I gave you, and I don't know what your intentions were with what you gave me, but I feel positive. So I hope that stays that way throughout the whole episode, but we'll find out.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting one. We do have some bonus stuff to check out towards the end of this episode. Stay tuned for that
Yes.
because that should be very fun. Um, So we are talking about a couple of albums today. The one that you gave to me was Get Born, the debut album by Jet. And the one that I gave to you was Stay Gold, the third album by First Aid Kit, um, which is the one we were going to do first, I think.
Yes. Yes.
So I will give you a little bit of background on First Aid Kit before we get into it. Um, the band is basically a duo. It is a pair of sisters from Sweden, Johanna and Clara Soderberg. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, but I think I am. Who, in their teens, gained a lot of, or a little bit of popularity by doing a Fleet Foxes cover. They posted it on YouTube, Tiger Mountain Peasant Song, which is a beautiful Fleet Foxes song. And another one of the long list of songs that Robin Pecknold wrote that feel like they've been around forever. He really takes folk music to, its very folksy roots at times. But they ended up getting signed off of that. They released a few records. They have been going since then. So this was 2008 they did that. And so they've been going since 2007. This Stay Gold came out, was their third album, studio album. It released in 2014. I caught on to this one and I've dug them. I catch out on with them with their previous album, The Lion's Roar, which I was back and forth as to whether or not I was going to give you that one or this one. I think I like them both, but um, I decided ultimately to give you Stay Gold because I think I like it a little bit more. And yeah, they still kick around. They are less inclined to tour or do things musically recently. They're both parents now. Um, but yeah, they still do pop up occasionally. I heard them do a cover of a Paul Simon song for Paul Simon, which was really, really beautiful. And they have been covering, or they had been covering Songbird, the song written by Christine McVie of the band. God, my brain is completely shot right now.
Fleetwood Mac.
Fleetwood Mac. Good lord, my brain is gone. Really, and so when she passed away, they released a version of on YouTube, which was such a beautiful tribute. But yeah, this is a folk music and rootsy Americana, which is interesting for a pair of, again, I told you a sort of selling point of this. I've always had a bit of a fascination of European interpretations of American music, and so that's basically what we're getting with this. It is not a particularly long album, but we'll go through it. Rylan, why don't you lead us through Stay Gold?
All right. Well, before we get started, I'm going to talk about my first initial reactions to this because, for whatever reason, waited until today to listen to this. I had heard snippets of certain songs, just checking them out very briefly, but I did not take the full deep dive until today. I took it at 9 a.m. this morning at work. Not an album you want at 9 a.m. That is a good way to keep sleeping. But I will say, the first listen through, and I've done 3 listen throughs of this album now. It didn't grab me. However, later in the afternoon, after I had a Red Bull and something to eat, My Silver Lining made me feel a lot of things. But the first initial thought, and I know you'll love this, is it made me feel like John Marston in the beginning.
Yeah, it does. But that's my thing. Is it has like what's weird about this is because you said Americana was a weird word to describe it. And I think that's a reasonable assessment, but it definitely has a certain Americana vibe, even if that isn't a universal feeling.
Yeah, I will say there were portions, and I'll get to them when we get there, of this album that sounded very Canadian to me. With the portions of this album felt like a Serena Ryder album.
That's interesting.
But regardless, My Silver Lining, this was super, super good. I enjoyed this a heck of a lot. I will say I started off feeling like John Marston, or is it John Marston?
Yeah, John Marston is the protagonist of Red Dead Redemption.
Right. But by the end of it, I didn't feel like that. Also, like, props to Sweden, because Spotify on the Xbox has a built-in feature where when you're listening to an album, if it has a music video, it'll just show you the music video when the track comes up, which is great. These ladies are gorgeous. they are gorgeous. But no, like, I initially it was funny. I didn't hear Sweden right away. But one of my coworkers came downstairs, one of the older guys we work with, and he was just like, "What are we listening to this morning?" And I explained to him what I was doing or whatever, and I was just like, "Yeah, he told me it was a couple of Swedish girls," and he's like, "That's what it is. They're Swedish." Like I couldn't figure it out, but he was going upstairs. I thought we were listening to the Rankin Family, like, and portions of this album that I will say, like, I had weird feelings about, but this song is great. It feels like a really like good song to hear live and do like a big, sing along type situation.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like My Silver Lining. It's definitely it was the lead single off the album. It's probably the song that was the biggest. Again, we are going down another road. These two were far more popular than Home Free ever really got to be, or the album I made you cover last time we did this.
Production value felt leagues higher.
Yes, but this was, it's still Billboard 200 peaked to 23. This is a band or a duo that had some popularity, particularly in their genre and in their niche, but like I wouldn't say got a ton of traction outside of that. But yeah, I really I love the strings that they get in the early stages of this, and the harmonies throughout. I mean, it's just a recurring theme with these. The harmonies throughout
I was going to say the harmonies throughout the album were pretty fantastic. Like, for all the songs that I will say I did not enjoy on this album, it's not at the fault of the talent of the two people performing them. It's just not my shtick.
That's fair.
But no, like, yeah, I like I said, I enjoyed that song quite a bit, and you're right. Well, firstly, it should have been the lead single. Like that, if you want to hook somebody into an album, this is the music video is just them driving for most of it too, which made me feel like, all right, well, like they get the idea of what this song feels like. It feels like a song you listen to on a long drive.
This is a very middle of nowhere road trip song for sure.
Yes.
I'll let you move on to the next one then.
Master Pretender. This is like more mid-tempo. I didn't know what the lyrics were telling me. It felt cinematic. It felt like big, but like I didn't know what the lyrics were telling me. The harmonies were super, super good in this one though. I enjoyed it. This isn't a song that I didn't enjoy on the record, but It was definitely different from the first one. I'll say that.
That's fair.
Did also feel very Midwest.
Yeah.
Like this is the song that I remembered what I was thinking. This is the song that made me feel like I was like on the Oregon Trail.
That's fair. I don't know if it was just guitar or whatever it happens to be in the second song. That is kind of the driving force behind the chorus. Because there's a sort of pre-chorus that is sung, and then there's more of an instrumental chorus between the verses and the bridge. I like the musicality of this one. It's not one that isn't necessarily my favorite, but I enjoy it. It is an interesting one. I will say, sometimes the lyricism the lyrics of this are like really cohesive, but they definitely do occasionally they fall into the Swedish music trap of it just needs to scan. How much sense it makes is not always a thing, which is interestingly might be a recurring theme for this episode, but neither here nor there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll move on to the next song though.
Stay Gold, the title track. Firstly, cool ass album cover, I will say, and it will be featured as the album art this month for the episode, since I figured out how to get that all done. This song's another banger. One of the longer songs on the record, not quite the longest song, and I will talk about that longest song. But I enjoyed this one quite a bit. And it gave me Midwesty vibes, but also like knowing that these two ladies were Swedish. The whole time I was kind of fascinated how we got this sound. Like, what was the thought process in this like room where these two sisters are sitting and they're just like, I want to sound like a mix of like Loretta Lynn and Dolly Parton, and then like but like not 90s or 2000s versions of those ladies, like the original 70s.
So here's the thing, and I'll say this. They clearly have rooting in American music. The chorus of their which admittedly the previous album, the second single off of it is called Emmylou. It's named after Emmylou Harris, who, if anybody who has any sort of country background, that name will ring serious alarm bells. It's the chorus is, I'll be your Emmylou and I'll be your June and you'll be my Graham and my Johnny too. Like it harkens to a very specific, very country, very, that kind of like, Johnny Cash, Emmylou Harris, like June Carter, like huge names in that kind of like almost folk country sound.
Yes. Like, because I feel like that's what country used to be.
Yes,
country very much so. We're like tales from great pasts and stuff like that. But at some point, it became, I think, more commercialized and more like watered down. And we'll talk about that later.
It's unrecognizable in a lot of ways. But yeah, this definitely harkens back to that sort of thing. And Stay Gold is probably like I would say the last album it almost gets a bit more country in that way, but Stay Gold is probably the closest, despite some of the instrumentation being a bit more orchestral, I would say. It is quite good though. I love this song.
Cedar Lane. It's the longest song on the record.
It is.
It's too long. This song for me, at some point, I was just like, so like we're 4 songs in at this point, and I'm like, I'm optimistic, and I'm like sitting here going like, man, like who would have thought that Kyle pulled out these Swedish sisters, and he's turned me into a fan. And I will say again, big fan of the first 3 songs. This song though just felt like these Swedish girls just whining.
So I can't be mad at Cedar Lane. For one, I think it might be the best vocals on the album. in the chorus in particular between the two, especially at the end where they're just sort of like real. Like, there's a heartbreak element to it that I really like. It is slow. Like this one is definitely a low tempo song. It leads with flute. Like this is a bit of a this one is
Just,
not
again,
a feel.
I didn't hate anything on this record. Like I hated stuff on that last record, but like it just it's not going to be a song that when I think about this band and I go back to listen to, it's not going to be a song that I go back to.
Yeah, that's fair. This one, it's not it like I quite love it because of how good the vocal is in it, but I definitely I can see your perspective for sure.
Do you want to say any more about it?
You'll find this hard to believe. This was the only other single off of the.
I actually knew that. I did know that. And again, it maybe the bigger hits for me. I mean, like I shouldn't say that because I really enjoyed my Silver Lining. So, but anyway, Shattered and Heart is that it?
Yeah, that's pretty much
okay. Shattered and Hollow. I really like this one, which is weird because it's not that. I don't feel like it's a super big change up from the last song, but like there's something about it that that hooked me more than Cedar Lane did.
The pre-chorus in this one, the "We are gonna get out of here," and that particular harmony. Oh,
that felt very pop. That felt very pop. You know what I mean? Like it kind of. Mm-hmm. I don't know how I don't know if this makes any sense. It felt very Lorde.
This one in particular does feel very Lorde, yes.
And I'm a big fan of her. So
God, that would be that would be a concert I'd love to see.
Yes, that would be great. We definitely should talk about more of her later down the road as well. Mm-hmm. That being said, I like this song quite a bit. You mentioned heartbreak in the last song. This was the one that kind of like when I was when I got home today and I was listening to it for my third time. It's the one that kind of like got me the most. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I enjoyed Shattered and Hollow quite a bit.
That's fair. Next one is The Bell.
Did you want to say any more about Shattered?
It's really good. Like this one is it's a really good song. It is slower. It is interesting because I feel like this one would have been a better one closer to the end of the album. But
I will definitely agree with you that this album could have used some mix and I will say the same thing about the one we're reviewing later.
Yes,
if you would have mixed some of those up, that would have been a lot better. But regardless,
yeah, the album order is a little bit interesting, especially for an album of only 10 songs. Like this is only 10 songs. I'm still surprised at some of the order. But yeah, it is a heart-wrenching song for sure, especially their vocals and it's very sparse instrumentation, which is good.
I won't lie to you. When I listened to this album the first time, I just let this band because like I didn't realize I was busy at work. I did not realize the album ended and it just kept sounding like these two Swedish ladies. I just listened to their entire discography for like 2 hours. And at one point I remember saying to myself, God, how long is this thing? Like, what is he doing to me? Like,
no, this is a swift one. It's under 40 minutes.
That's true. The Bell. This is an upbeat song. I really, really dug the chorus. And just the overall feel of this song. It felt I don't want to say bouncy, but like more bouncy, I guess, than the last two, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Very charming. And again, like you can't knock these vocals. Can I ask? I got Chicks vibes from these two as well.
They definitely have that vibe too.
Because like I remember my mother was very much so into one of the albums from the
Mine
90s
was
or
too.
early 2000s. And it like I think those ladies are very, very talented.
Extremely.
And I love their stance on George Bush. That was great. But regardless, that was a great song too.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I felt like this could have been a single.
I agree. This one's probably the closest to the one that catches me by surprise that it was. I guess it's one of those things that, again, you only get so many. Like when we talk about the album that I'm reviewing, that one spun off 5 singles.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, okay.
Which it would, wouldn't it? But like there's a limit to how much you can release in terms of when you're just talking about this particular genre. But yeah, I if there was a third single, I would probably guess it would be this one.
Waitress song. Really, really, really didn't like this one.
Really?
Yeah. If anything, I enjoyed the storytelling part of it, but just the way that it flowed annoyed me.
Interesting.
I don't know what it was.
This is unequivocally my favorite song on the record. Like
I'm so sorry.
And it's fine. Oh, again, I cannot say anything given the history of this show and what I have said about some of your favorite music.
That's true. I take it all back.
No, that's fine. The storytelling, again, this one just sort of feels the most like, a country storytelling song. Harkens back to an era where you actually hear that kind of thing. And yeah, I quite love it. It is probably one of the least loved songs. I never hear anything about it, even when the rare times you hear anything about this record. But I quite enjoy this one. It is upbeat. The lyrics are unsurprisingly great, and I like the storytelling element of it for sure. So it is one of my favorite ones.
Well, man, that's gonna probably be I feel like that'll be the hardest we disagree on this episode. We'll find out, but that might be the hardest we disagree. Which is hilarious.
Yeah.
Track 8, Fleeting One. It's forgettable. If anything, it's a forgettable song on the record. It doesn't like, it's not going to be one of those ones I go back and listen to, but not for the reason of like I didn't like it. I just probably won't remember if I liked it and go like, I'd just rather not.
I'm about the same. This one it's just kind of there. It's not a bad
just
song,
like Swedish humming. You know what I mean? Like Swedish in the woods humming.
Yes, it is. It is a very fleeting song. It is there. I don't like. It's not that I don't enjoy it. It's just I if I'm going back to this album, that is the one I am least likely to resonate with.
Heaven knows. I really, really, really enjoyed like the chorus, and like if there was a ballad on this record that I enjoyed the most, it's probably this one. Something felt.
Well, this is a bit more peppy, but.
Well, I'm sorry, I guess more of a mid-tempo ballad, but like I think that like the content itself, I feel like there wasn't not one song on this album that you couldn't consider a ballad in one way, shape, or form.
Compared to the music that you probably tend to, this is definitely.
But no, I enjoyed it a lot. Like this is probably my second or third favorite song on the record.
This should have been the album closer. This is a great album closer.
Yes. I had that thought this afternoon. I had that it felt very like there didn't need to be any more.
Yeah, because they nailed the album closer in The Lion's Roar with the song called King of the World. But this one, especially given the what the last one was. A song I don't dislike, but to end it like Heaven Knows is at least a bit more peppy. It is it has them trading vocals a little bit, which playful, nice guitar riff and whatever it is. The next one is Proper Ballad, which is a great song, but I don't know that you want to end an album on a slow song, particularly for a duo that has a lot of slow songs on the album.
I don't like to end an album feeling contemplative. I like to end an album feeling like, whew, wow, that grabbed me in parts. And like when we reviewed the Black Keys album, Ohio Players, I didn't like how that album ended because for whatever reason, I felt like that song sounded completely different than anything on the record. It almost felt like it should have been saved for another record, which I still haven't made yet. Because I don't hear anything that sounds like that song. But the song before that on that record, I felt like was the perfect. I agree with you. I will say the last song again didn't a long time ago. Remember when we were talking about Dan Mangan's album, and I said it a lot of it felt very atmospheric to me. This song felt very atmospheric to me, and it just kind of felt like, I wasn't looking for that to end the show, if that makes sense.
That's fair. Oh, I didn't realize that Black Keys had a new album.
It's a cover album. It's another Delta Blues cover album.
They do love a good cover album, don't they?
And
anyway.
It doesn't come out till May, but the two singles are fucking bitching.
A long time ago was a very pretty song, and I feel like I would love it a lot more if it wasn't the album closer.
Maybe that's a good point. That's a really good point. Okay.
It's not one that I dislike, but it is such a, and I mean, the record is sorrowful. Because I don't know the details of why it is the way that it is, but it definitely is very downbeat. It is very contemplative, and I agree with you. That's not sort of the energy you necessarily want to end an album on, but yeah, I do think it's a good song. It's just not quite what I would have expected to be a closer.
I feel like I've been back and forth with this group. However, I feel like you also found a group that I'm going to go back and listen to plenty of songs, especially off this album. I'll definitely dive more into it now that I know I've probably listened to a lot of it unintentionally. But it's a 3.5 out of 5 for me.
Yeah. I would highly recommend the Lion's Roar. It is the previous album, because particularly the title track, and although that one's a bit meandering, Emmylou is such a pretty song too. I would highly recommend checking out Emmylou. But yeah, if you're a fan of this type of folk music, First Aid Kit is a very solid group, and they're one that you can definitely seek out. God, their covers are always so pretty too. So it's always good to seek out whatever they happen to be doing. Even as teenagers, doing that cover of Tiger Mountain Peasant Song, you could sort of see the future for them, and they really panned out. They're very, very impressive musicians, and I'm always excited to get to go back and listen to them. So yeah, First Aid Kit, definitely worth checking out.
Well, it has reached the time where we're going to break more into a rock and roll type feel. Kyle, if I could have the floor to introduce, or not, to talk about Jet.
Go for it. This is we'll talk about it. This is a fascinating band.
I have always thought from the beginning of the first time that I heard Are You Going to Be My Girl, which I will say before we even begin talking about the album, I think is an all-time great rock song. I'm telling you, for me, Are You Gonna Be My Girl is a top 10 rock song of all time. Might even be top 5. I would really have to think about it. But Jet was important to me because I had such a wild taste in rock music when I was younger. I would dip into different things like metal, and then I had my grunge stuff. I had my classic rock, what have you. Jet felt like the perfect band to come out when they did. 2003, this record came out. Jet, oh, by the way, from Australia. They are very much so a band that wanted to lay heavy into the Beatles type feel. And I mean, all the power to you, I guess. This sounded completely different than everything else that came out in 2003 for me. And yeah, Are You Gonna Be My Girl? Like that. It was the first single released, and it was a smash hit right the fuck away. Like that song was everywhere for a time period. And I think even to a certain degree, when it does come up, everyone knows it. Like that's not a song that people go by and go, yeah, I don't know what the fuck this song is. And that's why I think it's a top 10 great rock song of all time. Let's get into it, Kyle. Why don't you start track by track?
So it is interesting where rock goes from here at this point, sort of checking out what rock is at this moment and sort of what Jet was and what they weren't is very interesting. So this was the early 2000s in terms of rock was an interesting divergence. There was I hesitate to say pop rock, but
I would say definitely. We had our Blink-182s, we had our like bands like that, like Simple Plans.
But even ones that were a bit harder, but still had pop sensibility, or at very least chart sensibility. Obviously, if we're talking about Nickelback, if we're talking about Foo Fighters, even to a degree, like bands that were rock bands, but certainly had more of a pop sensibility. Even the Chili Peppers on occasion showed that ability to and then you had how do I describe this other sound? Puddle of Mud, Trapped.
Well, that's like dad rock. That's what we call dad rock now.
Yes. Yes. It is
at the time, I believe we called it alternative rock.
Yes. Jet is definitely more on the pop rock side. Jet is an interesting case of they're going to be, I think, the bellwether. Because if I'm not mistaken, and I'm trying to remember what the rules are for Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's 25 years. Am I correct in that?
20 or 25. You're right on either of those.
I'll have to see what the actual what it is, but they're an interesting case because it is 25 years after their first record. So that would mean that a Rock Hall induction for Jet would be 2028, I believe, since this was
2003.
I don't think Jet is going to get in to the Rock Hall, certainly not on their first try.
No.
But they're an interesting case study in terms of Rock Hall because they didn't really have hits. Like they did.
Are You Gonna Be My Girl is one of the biggest hits of all time in rock.
I will get we'll get to that. They had hits on top as far as the rock charts go. And actually, Are You Gonna Be My Girl didn't top the modern rock chart. Cold Hard Bitch did.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Fair enough.
But Are You Gonna Be My Girl, and this is where we talk about where rock slowly starts to backslide in this 2000s era, peaked, even in our home country in Australia, it peaked at 20 on the pop chart, peaked at 29 in the US Billboard Hot 100. That is not a bad charting for a band releasing their first single by any stretch of the imagination. But it was also the highest they ever got on the pop chart. In Australia, they got higher a couple times. Look What You've Done in particular reached number 14. They got to number 14 again on their second album. But that is what I'm saying as far as a case study. Because as far as the music goes, despite the fact that they did not have a lot of staying power, they only released 3 albums. Jet they shone brightly while they were around.
Absolutely, they did.
This is a long build-up way of saying, yeah, I love this record. I have always had a fascination with Jet, but I've never actually gone and sat through Get Born top to bottom before, and I'm glad that I did. That is my overall take of it, but we'll go song by song. Last Chance is the lead track off of the album. It's exactly what you wanted of a lead track. It is high energy. It is a solid rock song. It introduces the band. It doesn't overstay it. Well, it's welcome. There's not much to it, but it doesn't need to be a lot to it. It is just sort of a nice introduction.
It's how you open a concert. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Are You Gonna Be My Girl is a masterpiece. We'll get into, there is a controversy around the song, and it is the silliest controversy in the world. We'll get into that after, but the tambourine leading off is instantly iconic. If you hear that tambourine riff, you know exactly what you're
getting. The bass line.
But I'm saying the tambourine leads into the bass line, which leads into that guitar riff, which basically takes over the bass line. And then you get into the set, which is, again, what a way to lead off your lead single. This is a great introduction to a band. It is the opening for Are You Gonna Be My Girl. And then it makes a second really brilliant musical choice, which is the stop time where the band trades back and forth with the lead vocalist. And Nick Kester? I
think it's Sester.
Okay. Nick Kester is an excellent lead vocalist. And this song shows off his vocals really, really well. This is an excellent song. Top to bottom, it is technically probably the best song on the record. It is the best pop song, or one of the most poppy song on the record. Although I'm not even sure that that's true. But as far as what you'd want out of a rock song, this was, and again, the commercial appeal of this was very interesting. Because whereas the pop charts were very rap heavy at this point in time, 2003 was a very, very good year for hip hop. The commercial play of Are You Gonna Be My Girl? It was not hard to find. This song does have an interesting controversy it has similarities to Lust for Life, which is an Iggy Pop song that was co-written. Except, and there's a point that was raised by members of Jet, Lust for Life is basically a send-up of a Motown song. It is, Lust for Life borrows heavily from You Can't Hurry Love. If you ever heard the song You Can't Hurry Love by the Supremes, or also if you heard the cover by Phil Collins, because Phil Collins covered that song for some reason. that bass riff is in Lust for Life is basically identical. It is a very this is a very Motowny send up with a harder rock edge, and it is excellent. I can't take anything away from the song. It is an amazing song, and it still holds up to this day.
Yeah.
God, I love Rollover DJ. Which this band has a lot of influences. The one that gets cited the most seems to be AC/DC, which is not surprising given that they're an Australian rock band. This is an Oasis song. Rollover DJ is such an Oasis song.
It is because, and I don't know I don't know this for fact, but does this song not feel like because Australia was big in the EDM dance music scene? Do you think like that's a stab at this scene at this time? Because at this time, like we hadn't seen a rock band, much less one out of Australia, since In Excess.
It is interesting. Australian music scene is such an interesting one that I definitely want to do more of a deep dive into. I'm probably going to give you the debut record for Savage Garden at some point in time.
Oh my god. Oh my god. All right, let's get through Jet first. It slaps. It slaps.
It's a great song. The groove is great. The lyrics are a bit nonsensical, but that's what you want out of an Oasis song. It's super catchy, and I said Nick even sounds, especially in the verses, less so in the chorus, but especially in the verses, sounds like Liam Gallagher a lot in this. This is a very, very fun song.
I feel like on this record, he goes between sounding like he's in Oasis to in the Beatles to just going, like that. Like that's kind of the range. Like he's just all the big Brit pop bands of the generations of that music.
Mm-hmm. Look What You've Done is an amazing and underrated rock ballad.
Oh, underrated rock ballad, underrated music video. Have you ever seen the music video for this?
No, I haven't. No.
It's him playing in the forest with animated creatures just like coming and like much like in Bambi, like coming and surrounding him. And during like the parts where the drum kicks in, it gets all like dark and evil for the time being. Oh, dude, you got to it's so cool. And to come out in 2003, like it was so ahead of its time.
Shout out to Mark Wilson who played the piano riff on this, because that piano riff is iconic. That and the drums drive this song, and they drive it so well. And yeah, this is the perfect time to show, hey, we're not just this sort of, modern rock, alternative rock band. We've got some ballad credentials too.
This is the best, in my opinion, it's the best vocal on the record.
It is a very good vocal. I don't know if I can give this a better vocal than Are You Gonna Be My Girl, but it's very close. The two are, like, again. And by the way, we're 4 songs in. I've loved all 4 of them. And it's not even my favorite song on the record. My favorite song on the record is Get What You Need. I love this song. What's wild is this album spun off 5 singles, and this wasn't one of them. Which is crazy to think about.
The lyrics, if you got a lady friend, I'll take her to town. This song is slutty, Kyle. This is a slutty rock song. Now I'm in a rocking band. She's not there. No one has to hold my hand. Oh, also, fuck, I love this.
And speaking of, do you know what really helps your rock band be able to distinguish itself in this period of time? Having another person in the band who can take the lead vocals. Chris's lead vocal in this is excellent. He's not as good a singer as Nick, but he is still a very, very good singer. And it allows you to do some of that that trading, because the lead voice trades back and forth with the sort of backing vocals in this pretty much throughout. The pre-chorus is really great and then the guitar effects that just sort of build to this chorus, this shouting chorus. It is just a really, really great rock song. And it's sad to me that this one's been forgotten a little bit more, because this is just as good as basically everything that that we've heard before it. And oh, by the way, we get to song 6. Jet made a country song, and it's pretty good.
It's pretty fucking good. Of course I knew the singles. Of course I knew some of the other tracks on this album, but like more recently, I've actually over the last like few years, I've listened to this album front to back and realized that like, yeah, it's an important one to me because man, this in 2003, this one was going, rock still alive, Rylan, rock still alive. Just hold on. Don't give into the rap yet.
God, it's holding by a thread, but it's holding. But yeah, this is a great song too. I quite like Move On. And again, Australian rock band is not what you would read for country, but this is quite a good country song. And it's one of those ones that I would expect to have heard a cover. I feel like this would be a great song for like a country artist to cover.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Like I could see Luke Combs doing a great job with Move On.
Oh fuck, he would too. He would.
Radio song. Again, this is where we get into some surprises. I'm surprised to have this one back to back, especially with a band with this many like bangers. I'm surprised that you had 2 slower songs back to back. I don't dislike this one, but it's not as good as some of the other songs on it. It is also a topic that I find a bit played out, even though they wrote this pre-releasing this, you know.
I was going to say they wrote this before they became the most commercial rock band of the 2000s.
Yeah, I was going to say if anyone's going to say this,
I'm sorry, you want to play how you want to play? Are you? Do you want to be my girl? On every commercial for every car in America. All right, I'll take that paycheck.
Yeah. Radio
and
song
you know what? No shade on them for it either.
No.
You don't know that this is going to happen with the second album, and guess what? It didn't. It fucking didn't.
Get Me Out of Here. Really like this song as well. The piano.
This should have been the closer.
I think you're right about that. This would have been a really good closer. The piano on this one is so good.
Yeah.
I don't know who plays it, but they did a really
I am so shocked by all of your reactions to all of these songs because I thought this was going to be far too much screaming for you.
See, and this is where we get into I have never had a problem with scream singing. There just has to be
the right person.
Well, it has to be melodic. It has to still stay in that range of singing. And let me tell you, like, this is not scream because like screaming is part of the music. This is screaming because Nick Kester can nail those vocals.
Oh my God. Well, is he not like, I gotta say, like, he's probably one of the best rock vocalists from 2000 to 2010, if not later.
Yeah.
And I honestly, Kyle, like I'm very tempted to give you another Jet album next, just so we could like get through it. But like, there's only 3.
I don't.
But
know if
I don't think
in 2000s rock vocals. I don't know if I'd put him as high as Justin Hawkins, and I'm not even joking about that. But Justin Hawkins is the lead singer for The Darkness.
Yeah, I mean, like different though, very different.
Yes, very different. But again, that's a hair metal band. And
see, that'd be a great get for the podcast is Justin Hawkins, because he does kind of what we do for his podcast, and yes. I think he would enjoy us. Anyway, go ahead.
Cold Hard Bitch. This is the song that actually made the #1 on the modern rock chart, which is a surprise in and of itself in 2003. This is never going to be my favorite song, but it is a very, very good rock song. It's got high energy. It's fun. And it's a nice pick-me-up for some of the slower stuff that we saw. Rylan, I don't know if you have thoughts about this particular song. Let's double check when it actually was, because they spun 5 singles off of this thing, and this was the 4th one.
Yes.
But I think it probably got I guess it got the most, at least, rock radio play. It has a classic rock vibe to it for sure. And if we're talking about getting AC/DC comparisons, this is probably where you're getting
sure. And there's also, I would feel like, where he used that fucking scream the most on this record. Look, dude, this is a good song. This is a good rock song. I know that maybe some people might look back on it and be like, well, do we need to call her a bitch? Listen, I'm a warm, soft bastard. All right. For this song, I'm a warm, soft bastard because this is just a good rock and roll song. It's raw. It's chaotic. It's big on the thing about this album, Kyle, the production value was huge. Yeah. It's huge for this.
That's the thing. For a band in Australia to get signed and then their debut LP, they recorded in Los Angeles. Like, they recorded this in Sunset Boulevard. Like, it was clear early on that, I don't know who produced the record, or it's Capitol Records. It's clear very early on that they knew exactly what they had in this band.
Yeah. I feel like, though, man, it would be a difficult task to not know what you had with this band. Like, I feel like you hear this band play once and you're like, fuck, I don't know if it's gonna be a number one, but like it's gonna be something. And again, like you've said, for most of this record, like these songs still hold up as great rock songs.
Come Around Again. What's wild to me in the list when I was looking through this record, the thing that caught my attention immediately, because again, I haven't sat through and heard this record start to finish again, is when we look at the list of additional musicians in this. Billy Preston played on this song.
He got the fifth Beatle. He got the fifth Beatle.
They got the fifth Beatle. Look, here's the thing. Billy Preston is probably... I have not put a lot of I'm trying to even think of the right. I've not put a lot of like funk R&B stuff to the front of this particular show. Billy Preston is definitely on the list of people that I would consider to do a review of a record of, because his music is really, really good. And R.I.P. He died way too soon, but it wasn't that, like, it was only a few years after they recorded this. But yeah, they got Billy Preston on this record, and yeah, he's really good. This, again, Come Around Again is not my favorite song. I thought it was a good song, but as far as like, it has a similar vibe to Move On. I think Move On's the better song of the two.
I will say, like, at this point in the album, you really needed a song of this tempo to like relax, because this was just like, we're gonna kick rock and roll down your throat for like 30 fucking minutes. Deal with it. That's all they basically told, with the exception of like, obviously, like
and that's what the pacing of this album is a little bit odd, because they had the slow songs to intercut, but then they put two of them back to back. And don't get me wrong, I like both of them, but that might have been a better place to spread things out. Take it or leave it. My answer to this is I'm going to leave it.
I knew of all the songs that I loved off this record, this would be the one you would not like, or you would like.
It's not technically bad, but it's my least favorite song on the record, and it feels like filler.
Yeah, this is just him. This would be the part of the concert where he's just like, all right, guys, just play something catchy and I'll scream for 4 minutes.
Pretty much. It's not a long song or anything like that, but I also, and then we'll get back to, you know, if we're going to do a bring down, Lazy Gun, I found the guitar effect in this one to be more annoying than anything else, and it sort of permeates throughout that whole verse. And the slow sections of this song, because it sort of meanders with tempo a bit, and it just doesn't work. It feels abrupt and odd. I actually said, I wonder if the bridge to this song could have been spun off into a better song of its own.
That's a good point. Now, did you listen to the song I gave you?
Yes, we'll get to that. We've got one more song to go.
Oh, do we?
Timothy.
Okay.
Timothy's the album.
Oh, I didn't know you. Okay, I didn't know that you listened to that because that was it was an album closer, I believe, like post-release.
Was it? I'm pretty sure it was on the original. Yeah, Timothy was the album closer off of the original album. The deluxe edition of the album throws in the bonus track, which we'll talk about.
Okay.
Timothy is a song. It's hard. Like, it is not my favorite song, but it is so earnest and it is so forlorn for understandable reasons about the death of the brother of the guitarist in the band, and the band sells it so hard.
No, it's a really beautiful song.
I wouldn't have put this as the album closer, but I totally understand why they did, given how much this song probably meant to them.
That's fair. That's fair. I even with that standing, I feel like you could have put Take It or Leave It, or you could have put Get Me Out of Here.
Get Me Out of Here probably would have been a good closer. We did,
but
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No.
I was just gonna say, like, that being said, though, like, it out of all of the Jet songs, and I love stuff off the second, I love stuff off the third. This is one of the one. It's probably a top 5 Jet song. Is Timothy.
Sergeant Major is such an Oasis song.
It's a Beatles song. I disagree. It's a Beatles song.
It is also a Beatles. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Like That's a good question. Maybe we'll have to discover that on this show.
The syncopated drum riff that drives it really, really great. I quite love that. Again, the band members all really get moments to show off, and Chris's drums don't get that much feature throughout this. I'd say the 2 songs where they sort of feature the most, this song and Look What You've Done, are the 2 sort of best drummed songs. Though
I would say Take It or Leave It is one of the better songs for him on the drums too, but just because of the wildness of it. Yes,
that's also fair. But yeah, this is a great song. It is you are right. It is a Beatlesy song. I read it as Oasis because it is the most like it feels like Oasis just because of the instrumentation and stuff like that.
Sure.
The mixing. It is Oasis trying to be the Beatles, which they were not. They didn't do infrequently. But yeah, I am gonna give this album a 4.5. There are lulls, certainly, but if you have not checked, like if you know Jet just for Are You Gonna Be My Girl? I can't promise you that there are going to be songs that you're going to like more than Are You Gonna Be My Girl? Are You Gonna Be My Girl is a really, really good song. But I found at least 2 that I like more than Are You Gonna Be My Girl? And that's not to take anything away from that song because it's a masterpiece. But this band has got some depth and range and a lot of impressive ability. And 3 lead vocalists and enough pull that on their debut record they got Billy Preston to play on it. Like, I don't know the circumstances that led to the fall of Jet. I think the reality of it is probably just, boy, did rock it. Like, by the time the difference between releasing a rock record in 2003 and releasing a rock record in 2009, which is when their last record came out, is a stark difference. The landscape of rock at that point in time is.
They have more recently put out a single. And
I would be interested to see if they have a 4th album in them.
I think so. They've put out singles throughout the years. What's funny, about Rollover DJ is they've done a DJ song. They've done some music that once Jet kind of folded after the 3 albums, they would pop up in that scene. And I'm just like, oh, Rollover DJ. Hey, well, I guess you're just you're whatever. The song ended up being quite good. But that being said, the newest single, I think it's called Little Fish. No, hurry.
2024, yeah.
It is just as good as anything on this album. Like, it's just as good, in my opinion. That being said, Kyle,
they're not that old either. They were children when they released this record.
Really?
And this is now. I'm just going to try to pull up how old they are now. Jet is, again, they broke up pretty quickly. They sort of moved on to separate things. They've only very recently reunited, and without Chris. Chris is no longer a part of the group.
Oh,
but Chris is only 44 and Nick is 46 right now. So this album is, 23 years old. They would have been in their early mid-20s when they released this one. Which that is Nick at 2000. I'm trying to remember what year this is. 2003. That would be Nick at 25 singing this. Are you gonna be my girl?
Well,
that's pretty crazy.
How it sounds now. Yeah, that's nuts. That's nuts. Well, Kyle, I'm so happy that I could finally find an album that you have been able to enjoy. Man, you really love this album.
And the thing, I knew as soon as you told me that I was going to do Jet, I knew at very least I was going to like some of it because I like Jet.
Right.
But
Tiffany did give me a hint. She said at one point to me, she's like, I think Kyle's like low key excited about that.
I was excited about it because, again, it's fascinating. They're such a fascinating case to me that I would love to know what happened to them. If it was just
that would be a doc I would watch for sure.
Yeah, if it was just changing tides, or if it was if there was something else beyond that. I don't really know because I don't know that they said a lot when they broke up. But suffice to say, Get Born, still a great record to go back and listen to, and especially, again, it's the age-old thing of like, yeah, there is still music that happens. It just doesn't make the top of the charts anymore. Like that's the thing. The tragedy of this record is even about 5 years before, they could have had some number one.
Oh my God, it would have been a bigger smash hit 5 years before.
They would have had some top 10 songs. Like Look What You've Done. I can't believe. Didn't make the top 10.
Like, it's funny because that's the Jet song I always forget about. And then as soon as I remember it, I'm like, oh, it's one of the best Jet songs there is. Like, it's a top 5. It's a top 5 Jet song. But that being said, Kyle, we have a bit of a task ahead of us because we're not quite done yet.
No. So I wanted to get your live reaction to this because I heard about this today. I didn't realize it had come out yet. Every 4 years, the World Cup happens, and look forward to that on the sports show. We're going to be talking about the World Cup
this summer. Yep, we're going to have some fun.
Canada's going to play in it.
Wait, when does it take place?
June, July.
Okay, well, I'm coming the end of July, so I'm just curious if it's going to be going at that point.
Let me just have a look at the schedule right now. Not quite the end. June 11th, July 19th.
Oh, so I'll be there on the 20th, so we can record our final podcast about it together.
Yeah, well, we'll record that live, so you might have to rewatch the final, or I don't know if you'll want to watch the final on your travel day or whatever. But
dude, that sounds like better than anything else that happens at the Toronto airport.
You're not wrong. By the time we release this, we will find out who, by the time this releases, I think, we'll know whether or not Canada is dead in their group, because we'll know whether or not Italy is a part of their FIFA World Cup group, and the first match that they play in Canada. That doesn't sound like fun, but Italy has some work to do to get to the World Cup. So anyway, the World Cup is a tradition that I enjoy. I have been sort of watching World Cups for quite a while. My fascination with soccer ebbs and flows, but I definitely am always here to cheer on. For a long time, because Canada never made the World Cup while I was growing up. They made the last one. That was their first one in my lifetime. They had made one previously in the 1980s, lost all 3 matches quite convincingly. And so we're still chasing our first World Cup win. Anywho, they're hosting it this year in part. They're also co-hosting with Mexico and the United States. I showed you a World Cup song. You've heard a couple of them before, I think you've said, because World Cup songs kind of have a typical tradition of being
lame,
very world music.
I'm kidding.
No, world music, dancey type of songs, right? I think that's not a bad way of not a bad description. Very fitting in the type of songs you would expect to hear in like an FC soundtrack or something like that. And I had an eyebrow raised this year when I found out a couple days ago that the World Cup song had been released. I hadn't heard it until today, as of recording this, the day we're recording this. And I found out that it was performed by Jelly Roll.
Who you hate.
I do hate Jelly Roll. But beyond hating Jelly Roll, my immediate reaction was World Cup songs are usually world music-y and fun. And Jelly Roll is neither of those things. So I was curious and I wanted to listen to it. So, Rylan, the podcast audience, you'll have to seek this out, but I am going to get your live reaction to the official World Cup song of the FIFA 2026 World Cup, Lighter by Jelly Roll and Karen Leon.
Which is a difficult song to cover. But that being said, do you hate this?
I don't know that hate is the right word. I will fully and say that type of song definitely isn't for me. But I don't know that I hate it per se. I just recognize the experimental elements of it, and it just doesn't vibe well. I appreciate that my musical taste can be a bit basic in times. I am more interested in a pop hook than I am in.
I would disagree that your music taste is basic. That I would not agree with in any way, shape, or form. Over the time that we have been doing this show, Kyle, your music taste is it's made me explore things that I have never explored before. From jazz to Swedish sisters.
Boy, do I have an adventure for you for this next one.
I have to pick one. God damn it! All right, you go first.
Okay, well, I'm going to give you an album, but yeah, I would have to hear more to know my feelings about it. But it's just it's odd. It's sort of my reaction to it. Is it has like a blues type of feel. It's something like blues with obviously the vocals is, how would I describe that? Industrial?
Yes. Yeah, I would say so. Like if you Tool is industrial.
Yeah.
So
it has that kind of vibe to it. Yeah, I don't even know where to begin. So where do I go with this one? This one's going to be a weird one. And we'll talk more about it when we get to it. But I am usually reticent to give compilation albums. I don't think it's a great introduction to a musical artist or band necessarily. But I have decided to give you a compilation album because the way that this person makes music makes it difficult for me to give any of the other albums that most of the songs that have been compiled here are off of. Jonathan Coulton is a bit of a favorite of mine. He is best described as a nerd rock comedy artist.
Okay.
He has some. He is a person who you have either never heard of him or he's one of your favorite artists. There's not like a lot of in between for Jonathan Coulton. He is well known to the people that he is known to. He is a former computer software programmer turned musician with a very much a comedic sensibility. And the album I'm giving you is his 2008 compilation album, Joko Looks Back, which is a bunch of his songs from the past. Again, he recorded a lot of music in the early 2000s. This is a 2008 thing, but between 2002 and 2006, when he recorded a lot of this music, he did a lot of recording. So this is going to be this is a good way of getting a lot of the best stuff that he did. And yeah, I don't know how you're going to react to this. I think you're going to like some of this and hate some of it, but we will see. I'm going to say Joko Looks Back by Jonathan Coulton is the record I'm giving you next.
Man.
There's no way. That last record was 38 minutes. This one's a fair bit longer. So,
okay. This will be a sit down. All right, Kyle. Just based simply on how you described the album you gave to me, I kind of want to give you something that I feel like either you're going to feel similar about or you're just going to hate. So, the band Seether, South African band. Big hits include Broken, which featured Amy Lee from Evanescence. And most of the singles on this record, Finding Beauty in Negative Spaces, which I believe was released. Just let me figure it out here.
2007.
2007, yes. This is one of my favorite records of all time. One of my favorite bands. I've been lucky enough to see them live. I would say that this probably has the most singles this band has ever had, probably their biggest single, including a cover of a George Michael song.
So you're making me listen to the bonus tracks is what I'm hearing.
I will hold on. Let me just check the track listing right here. I will make you listen to the one bonus track. Yes.
Okay. I will listen to the bonus track for this one. Seeing the word post grunge has definitely made me twinge just a little bit, but we'll find out how it goes when we get to it.
I feel like Tiffany is going to love this. She's going to love this very much.
I don't know if there's a larger gap that we've had between our respective artists than there is between Seether and Jonathan Coulton, but we'll find out.
With all that being said, Kyle, send the people home happy.
Thank you so much for listening all the way to the end of this. We appreciate each and every single one of you, and you have been walloped.